So we tease this up that we're going to segue from talking about the First Amendment to the Second Amendment. A Second Amendment, of course, says a well-regulated militia being necessary to secure a free state, right of people to bear arms. We all know what it says. We also know that it can be very controversial, but very important. So we're going to have somebody on right now, I understand, that is an expert in Second Amendment law, a real diehard gun guy who just received 2 new kittens for Christmas. So it just goes to show you, Larry, everybody has a soft side. Who do we have on the line?
Yes, Wendy. Today we have Michael Schwartz. Michael is the executive director of San Diego County Gun Owners. It's a political organization that focuses on expanding and restoring Second Amendment rights within San Diego County. And SDCGO, that's an abbreviation for it, was formed to counter the passage of aggressive new government legislation and regulations designed to eliminate the firearms industry and the ownership and use of firearms. Welcome to the program, Michael.
Thank you so much for having me on.
And Michael, we know that you are a fellow KCBQ host yourself. We know that you have a program on Sundays, and I'm sure you'll let us know about exactly when that's on as well. But in reading your bio and looking into a little bit about who you are, what you do, and your platform, I love the kitten story because that is just adorable. And it made me think, how did a guy like this become interested in guns? How did this start for you?
Well, I've always had an interest, ever since I was a kid growing up in the 80s and watching action movies and that sort of thing. I've always had kind of a passive interest. And then, I started playing paintball in high school. And so just gun ownership as kind of a hobby, it came pretty early in adulthood. But the activism part came when my wife and I were out practicing target shooting in the desert, and we were doing everything legally, and we really got harassed by some Bureau of Land Management law enforcement agents for no reason. And we realized that they didn't understand the law, that the laws for gun ownership were really confusing. And long story short is it really got to me. It really affected me. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to wait around for someone else to stand up and do something. I'm going to stand up and do something and get really active in the political world to see if we can, change things for the better and stand up for the Second Amendment, like the civil right that it really, truly is.
Right. Hey, Michael, I'm going to go from the local level to the national level. Does your organization have any concerns about the effect of the incoming Biden administration that it will have on gun ownership rights in America?
Huge concerns. He's already, if you just look at his website, his campaign website, where he talks about what he wants to do when it comes to gun ownership, this is the most restrictive president. It's going to be the most restrictive administration. And now that his allies control both chambers of Congress, it's going to be the most restrictive federal government when it comes to Second Amendment rights that we've ever seen ever.
Wow.
And what I mean by that is they're looking to have bans on certain types of rifles. They're looking to implement mental health tests on all gun owners. They're looking to make gun ownership financially prohibitive by taxing gun ownership and the ownership of certain magazines, and doing things like removing protections from gun manufacturers so that they can be sued for, the misuse of a firearm. For example, let's say a criminal uses a firearm in the commission of a crime. They want to remove certain legal protections so that the victim of the crime can go after the gun manufacturer. And now that'd be like, if someone got hit by a drunk driver, the victim going after Ford for,
Exactly.
for what the drunk driver did.
So, Michael, you bring up the good point about safety, and everybody that owns guns or that even supports the Second Amendment is just absolutely concerned about gun safety. And that encompasses everything from keeping guns out of the hands of the wrong people to making the background checks sufficient, to the mental health issues you mentioned. But it also has to do with gun owners' responsibility to know how to store them, where to store them, who to keep them away from, how to use them. And I understand your organization really prioritizes gun safety, not just the right to own them, but really the mandate of knowing and the responsibility of knowing how to use and store them safely.
Yeah, we are unapologetic about the fact that the Second Amendment, your right to keep and bear arms, is a right, but we are also adamant that it is an enormous responsibility. So we do a lot of things in the way of training. We partner with different gun shops and gun trainers in town and make sure that we, get people the resources that they need to be successful, to be proficient, and to be safe. So we're absolutely, a lot of people complain, and we complain, and we're against almost all these regulations. I can't think of one of the regulations that the Biden administration is proposing that we like, but the reality is a big antidote to government overreach is personal responsibility. So if you get the training and you get the safety training and the knowledge that you need to be proficient and safe, a lot of these proposals won't even get proposed. So we do a lot of things. We train new shooters. We give seminars. We have professional, licensed gun instructors give courses. But we definitely act. We're a political organization, but we definitely act as a clearinghouse or a resource so that folks can get the training that they need. And we encourage training, not just the minimum amount of training that's recommended, but as much training as you can possibly fit into your schedule and your budget.
Michael, if somebody in San Diego County wanted to purchase a firearm today, what would be the steps involved? Is there a background check? Is there a waiting period? How does it work?
Good question. There's a lot. In California, first, you can only purchase a firearm in the state where you're a resident. So if you live in California, you can't go to another state and purchase a firearm. You have to go through a federally licensed dealer in the state of California. What you would do is you'd go to the shop. You would pick the firearm that is best for you. They'll be able to give you all kinds of advice. You can go to certain ranges and rent. You can go to teachers and try different firearms. But once you've decided, hey, this is the firearm that I think best suits my needs, then a bunch of paperwork starts. You actually have to take a test, and they'll help you with the test. They'll administer the test. They'll give you a study guide for the test. After you've completed the test, you have to go through a background check. The background check makes sure that you're not a prohibited person, you're not a felon, you're not someone that's dangerous, or you've ever been committed to a mental institution, something like that. And then there's a 10-day wait period, and it's 10 full days down to the second. And there's a function test before you can actually take the firearm home with you. You have to prove to the dealer that you can actually, maneuver the firearm and use the firearm, and you know exactly what the safety does and exactly how to load it and where the magazine and the ammunition goes and that type of thing. So
Michael, I was going to say, it sounds like it's a process that is very important for a lot of reasons. And I have to ask you, though, before we run out of time, I understand your organization hosts some gatherings, and I can hardly say this on the air because I'm sure it means something different than it sounds like it means. But I understand you host what you call shooting socials, which obviously means socializing with fellow gun owners. But what are those?
So the shooting socials are really cool. They're mostly designed for folks who have little to no experience with firearms. It's an opportunity for a really inexpensive price. It's $50, and we will pair you up with an experienced person, 10 to 20 people at a time typically. We will pair you up one-on-one with an experienced gun owner. They'll give you a first-time shooting experience. So they'll make sure that you're safe, you know exactly what you're doing, and that you can get about 50 rounds usually through a pistol. We'll show them shotguns and rifles as well, but they spend a lot of time with a pistol. They get a safety briefing. They get eye and ear protection. There are range safety officers there. It's on a commercial range, so it's an extremely safe and educational environment. It's not a substitute for a class. It's really a first-time shooting experience. They kind of take the mystery out of it and give you a foundation so you can move forward. purchase a firearm or take more professional training.
I hope it is a dry event. So when I heard about the shooting socials, I said that has got to be a dry event. In other words, no alcohol, because we all know that when it comes to guns, and it sounds like your organization is right on top of all of this. If you are going to own a gun, like you said very articulately, it is a serious responsibility. And it sounds like that is part of the rationale for pairing new gun owners. We're not talking about pairing wine and food. We're talking about pairing experts with novices to make sure that the novices make it through all of those hoops. I know that unfortunately we're almost out of time, but tell us quickly about what time your show is on Sundays.
Sure. Gun Owners Radio is on KCBQ 1170 every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. live. So listen to us. You can also catch us on any of the podcast streaming services, and love to have you check out our show. Well, by the way, real quick, the shooting social, it came from ice cream socials. So rather than an ice cream social, it's a shooting social. It had nothing to do with booze.
I am so glad. Okay, so we started with kittens and we're ending with ice cream, and somehow we talked about guns in the middle of there. So I think that's a successful second half of the show. So thank you very much for everyone for joining us. And thank you, Michael, for joining us and explaining all that to us as well. We want to wish everybody a wonderful, safe weekend, a great week. Please join us next Saturday, 6 p.m. for more of Today with Dr. Wendy. Headlines with a silver lining. Have a great week and God bless you.
Without someone doing something about it, it's not going to get any better.